We're alive. We're alive. Am I coming through loud and clear? Because my internet just took a giant big shit right on me just as I was about to go live. So if I'm coming through loud and clear, let me know. Because that was a bit worrying. Yeah, am I coming through loud and clear, guys? I'll just wait a minute. Hello, am I coming through loud and clear? Is that better? Relying on you, DJ or Dan. It all looks good. Sounds good to me on my end, but if I'm not coming through loud and clear, then this is just I need to know because I've had a couple of minutes now. Okay, all right. What's up, Anthony, man? How are things going in Geordie land? Nice to see you on board, man. Oh well, that's good. That's good to know. Loud and clear. Yeah, sound good. Good. That's good. Yeah, my internet just decided to take a big giant shit right on me just as I'm about to go live, and I was like, oh fucking hell, man. I can't do this thing. I can't do this through a smartphone. There's just no fucking way. So yeah, this is just This is. I don't think this will take. It's not going to be like a. No buffering. Good. That's good to know. Yeah, this is going to be like a crazy long stream. This is going to be like a. Well, it might carry on talking shit after the fucking ranking. I just had an idea to like take every decade of every year of the 80s and maybe break it down into how good a year it was in relation to like the films that came out that year, specifically horror films, because to do it in like across all categories would just take way too long. So it was basically just breaking down the horror movies year by year through the 80s and where it ranks, because obviously the 80s for most people is our decade. Horror fans, we love the 80s. We love every decade, but when it comes to horror, the 80s holds a special place in our hearts. Special place, special plate, special place, special plate. What the fuck? Yeah, it holds a special place in our hearts, doesn't it? The 80s is kind of like, especially if you're of a certain age, the 80s just brings back memories, good memories, and the 90s as well. But the 80s in particular, even if you're younger, even if you're like a 90s kid or a noughties kid, I think most people would say that the 80s is that decade that really, even if they weren't born during that period, that was kind of like the period that maybe got them into horror, even if they were like born after that time, because they just got into all the Fridays and the Halloween stuff and Freddy and all that shit. So it's a special time. So I thought, take each year throughout the decade and just try and give it a little bit of a ranking based on how good each year was. Now, obviously, a lot of that, a lot of these 80s years, I'm a 76 kid, so I was born in 76. I'm an old bastard, but I'm not that old. So obviously, I didn't grow up remembering anything in the early 80s regarding watching horror films. A lot of my memories are watching horror films from the early 80s in the early 90s. I didn't really start watching horror movies per se until the late 80s when I started high school. When you start high school, all your mates, they're all into like we all start getting into like, girls and horror movies and shit like that. So it's kind of like that's when you really start getting the bug for horror films. So I was kind of like 88, 89 when I started really watching horror films. And a lot of these horror films I didn't get onto until like, the mid 90s, late 90s, because there was so much stuff that came out in the early 80s that, I mean, realistically, how would I have ever seen all this shit? This is, don't forget, like, this is pre-internet. So before the internet, for a 13, 14-year-old kid, you could only see what was available in the video shop. And, video shops were limited. They had certain amounts of stuff, but they didn't have everything. And it was only when, the internet era became widespread and you started to discover all these like old films that you never knew anything about. So obviously this my rating here is, I can't base it all on childhood nostalgia. It's going to be on cold hard facts and watching these films as an adult rather than like a kid. Because a lot of these films I did see later on in life, there's very few like horror films that I saw as a really young kid because it just wasn't accessible. You know what I mean? There just wasn't the means to access these films. Obviously, the Friday films, the Nightmare on Elm Streets. Yeah, obviously we had access to those films, and um, maybe a few more of them are more popular films at the time. But some of these more like a film like Black Christmas from '74, which obviously is not in this list because it's a '70s film. A film like that I was completely unaware of until the early 2000s, because why would I know about this film without the internet? How would I even know that this film existed? It's just one of those things. Um, let's just go back into the chat a minute. Yeah, DJ, what's up, man? Anthony, storm is raging. Yeah, it's quite stormy in England. It's stormy where I am. Dan, yeah, it's been like that for a while. I mean, I don't see it ending anytime soon. I think this is going to go on for. I think the people who are creating TV and film at the minute are like 80s kids and 90s kids. So you've kind of got like this sort of the people in, I think it's just like 40s, 30s, and 40s who grow up around that time period are creating all the content, and so they're probably influenced a lot by the youth and what they grew up with. And I think that's why you're going to see. I think you're going to see a lot of 90s stuff coming through in the next few years. I think it's already starting to happen. Dan says, yeah, Black Christmas was good for many years slowly, but yeah, definitely. That's a film that definitely grew in appreciation as time went on. Deadly Games getting that release. I don't know. Have I seen Deadly Games? That game, it rings a bell, but I don't know if I've seen that film. I think I'm thinking of Fatal Games, that really cheesy slasher film from like '84 or something. Anyway, let's just get onto it. Anyway, let's get onto the let's just get onto what was here to do in the first place. Let's start ranking the '80s. So once again, share. I'm so bad at this. Share screen. Chrome tab. That's the one I want. Share. And hopefully that's worked. Yeah, it has worked. It's very slow. I will say that. It's very extremely slow. So start off at 1980. So I went to Wikipedia for this because I can't possibly remember everything that came out in 1980 in terms of like horror films. So I just literally went on Wikipedia, 1980 horror films, and it does give a fairly decent representation. It's not just all American. You've got the Italian stuff, and then you've got Cannibal Holocaust, Cannibal Apocalypse. I'm just looking for a few things that stand out to me in terms of what influenced me, growing up, and films that influenced me further down the line. The Changeling, with George C. Scott, great film. Slow burn. you know, a film that probably wouldn't be made these days. You know, it's very slow, but it doesn't really it it does it's it doesn't throw everything at you at the beginning. It's a very sort of it leaves you. It's hard to describe it. It just how would I describe it? It doesn't go for jump scares in the very first like 20 minutes or even half an hour. It takes its time to like, invest you in the characters, which is something that I don't think the likes in this Conjuring universe era. It's something that doesn't really happen anymore, and the Changeling is something that I don't think a film like that could be made today. Really, I really don't. It's just something like that is unique. Well, not unique, but it's of its time, and it from that time in of the early '80s, where you could maybe build the character a little bit more than what is allowed now. Christmas Evil, you know, we're talking about Christmas films. The Thinking Man's, uh, I don't want to say the Thinking Man's, Silent Night, Deadly Night, but possibly that would probably upset a few people. I don't mean to like to shit on Silent Night, Deadly Night, but yeah, Christmas Evil is it's another. It's of its time. It's like a slightly slow burn film. It's like the anti Hallmark Christmas movie, if you know what I mean. It's just totally it's its own thing. We've got obviously The Shining. The Shining, is it a horror film? Is it a psychological thriller? It's a horror film for me. Um, Stephen King obviously, hated the film notoriously, but it's a horror film. Maybe it thinks it's like maybe people who love The Shining maybe think it's slightly above the level of a horror film. You know, I think there's certain people who like regard The Shining as like almost describing it as a horror film is a dirty word. It's like on this other level, but for me, it's a horror film. Um, Friday the 13th, obviously, whatever your thoughts of Friday the 13th, it's most people's sort of fourth or fifth favorite Friday the 13th film. It's quite unique in that in terms of like horror franchises, it's quite unique in that it's very few people's favorite of the franchise, even though it's the first one. You speak to anyone, the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise or the Halloween franchise, very often the first film is considered the favorite. Not with the Friday the 13th franchise. Very, very rarely is this film considered the favorite. I know Lorne would say it is the favorite, or maybe Jason X. You know, you know, that's Lorne. Each to his own. You know, but you can't argue with the legacy it left, and that puts it. It certainly put 1980 in a good stead. With a film like that, you can't really argue. Um, I could go on forever about 1980. There's just so many good films, but in terms of like where I'd put it in terms of a ranking, I, I would have to go A tier. I don't think it's S tier. S tier is kind of reserved for like it's got to be just one film after the other, just bang, 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 constantly amazing films. Um, let's just jump out a minute and just like jump back a minute. Check the check. Anthony loved The Shining. Yeah, Shining's classic. Dan says Christmas Evil gets top and secret to Saturday franchise. Yeah, yeah. Christmas Evil's it's an oddity really. It's just a strange film. And it's a film that you probably couldn't really release in 2021. It's just such an odd little film. What's up, Jess? Nice see the chat, Jess. Yes, good to see you, man. because it's literally. I was going to make a note of every film and just write it down, but it's just way too much. Way too much. And when it comes to 1981, oh my god, there's just so much stuff. Like, where do we start? You got American Werewolf in London. In my opinion, the greatest werewolf movie ever made. Fuck Wolfen, fuck The Howling. American Werewolf in London is the greatest horror werewolf film ever made. We've got The Beyond, filthy, trippy as fuck. Blood. Oh God, Blood. A film that nobody ever mentions is Blood Beach. It's cheap, it's tacky, and it's just a hell of a lot of fun. Blood Beach is just a ball of a time. If you've never seen Blood Beach, just watch Blood Beach. It's such a fun film. The Boogans is it's pretty shit. I'll be honest with you. The Boogans is pretty shit. I didn't see the Boogans for the longest time. I watched that film about 2 years ago, and it's so bad. I think it's got like a bit of a cult following, but my god, that film is so bad. I apologise to any Boogans fans. I mean, The Burning, one of the greatest slasher films of all time. The Burning, 81. 81 is just 81 is the year of the camp slasher. There's just so much overwhelmed with camp slasher goodness in 81, and The Burning is not just one of the greatest camp slasher movies of all time. Well, it's one of the greatest, in my opinion, it's one of the greatest horror films of all time. For me, it's arguably it's better than 95% of the Friday franchise. Only 4 and maybe 6 can hold a candle to it. I just adore that film so much. So good. Obviously, Dark Knight of the Scarecrow, I think, is a TV movie, which was never shown in the UK, obviously. But if I'm right in thinking, it's a TV movie for you guys in the States, and one of the greatest TV movies of all time. It is a TV movie, isn't it? Obviously, got The Entity, Poltergeist movie, a great Poltergeist movie, in 81. It's like every sort of like genre of horror was just represented in a really good way in 81. The Final Exam is not a good example of a slasher movie. That might bring the score down slightly for 81 because Final Exam is just awful. But you got Friday Part 2. For many people, like their third best Friday film of all time. I think for me it's 462 or 463 or 463. So I don't know. Either way, one of the best final girls of all time. Um, the Funhouse, which I didn't like. He also loves Funhouse, I think. So um, you've got obviously The Howling, which it's not as good as American Werewolf in London, but I know a lot of people love that film. Got The Omen 3. Got so much stuff. Got The Prowler, which is 80% fancy kills and 5% storyline. The Prowler is overrated. I'm not a big fan of that film. Wolfen, obviously, this was the year of werewolf movies. The Wolfen, again, another film which is not as good as American Werewolf in London. There's too many Scanners. Jesus Christ! I could spend like an hour just doing 1981 movies, but this is a no-brainer. S tier. Yeah, 81. It's just. I think 81 was the peak of horror films in the 80s. I mean, it's not really any sort of surprise. Everybody knows horror films and knows that 81 it was the perfect year. It was the kind of like the when everything just clicked. Slasher films came into their own. and everything else just came together. You know, I mean, what it was like to be a hello. My internet is fucked up tonight, man. Can everyone hear me? So have I just lost? Am I back? I haven't lost. I haven't lost my. Can everyone see me now? Am I back? Thank fuck. So I haven't lost my stream. It's okay, isn't it? I'm not sure how StreamYard works. So even though I got disconnected, this stream is still running nice and smoothly. Ah, fucking hell, man. The internet, I don't know if it's my internet, whether it's StreamYard is just fucking me about. I don't fucking know. Fucking hell. So, okay, so I can just carry on as normal. Hey, Christian, what's up, man? Good to see you on board, man. Yeah, so I can just carry on, can't I? Like I can really stop. So 1982, fucking internet, man. It's fucking shite. Or is it StreamYard? I don't fucking know. Anyway, oh, good. List has gone. Oh, list has gone. Yeah, but yeah. Oh, yeah. It's okay. I've that's because yeah. Oh no, it's back. It's back. Um, so I just need to share again. It's okay. Share screen. Share screen. Um, the stresses of live streaming. Jesus Christ, man. Okay, so we are back now. We should be back any second. Why isn't it come back on there? Oh, fuck's sake, man. So it's taking ages sharing the screen for some reason. No, it's there. No, it's there when I look. So I'm looking now and I'm seeing both screens. But when I go on this, it's not showing up on my smartphone. It's been very, very slow. So can you guys see the other screen, or can you only see my face? Because I'm looking and I can see both screens. I can see Tier Maker and I can see my face, but when I look on my phone, I can only see my face. So let me try again. Share screen. Oh, this might be it now. Ah, there we go. Apologies. I am fucking thick as fuck when it comes to this shit. Okay, done. Okay, 80. Where am I only up to 82? I've been streaming for like fucking ages and I'm only up to 82. Jesus Christ. So this is just, oh my God. So, I know, I apologize. I'm a fucking boomer. Okay. Okay, so I'm up now. So you can see it now, right? So 82. Guys can see it now, right? Yeah. Guys can see it. Okay, 82. Now, 82 is a bit of a strange one. Some amazing films and some really, really, really shit films. So it's not going to be S. I don't. Just speaking from the off, I just can't see this being S tier. I mean, we've got Alone in the Dark with Donald Pleasance and Jack Palance, which is just a crazy film. Donald Pleasance just being crazy as usual. Maybe less crazy than Halloween 5. I've gone off again for some reason. I don't understand why. Yeah, it was up. I'm back on again. What the hell is going on with this? So, so have I frozen again? Do you know what I'm going to do, guys? You know what? Fuck this tier maker. I'm just going to forget it. It's not really working, is it? It's just StreamYard is just being a little bitch. Chrome's been a little bitch. You know what? I'm just going to fuck it. I'll just talk about films from the 80s. I'll forget tier maker. I'll just basically have a little run through of like films from the 80s through. I'll just have a little chat about them because this is just fucking. I don't know what's going on with tier making. It's just fucking things up. So rather than do that, I'll just go through 82 and just like talk about a few of the films, and then I'll just go for 83, 84. We'll just have a little chat about some of these films, and like if you guys can recommend things that maybe I miss, I'm going off Wikipedia. So Wikipedia is basically because they are pretty good at with the majority of the films, but there's a lot of stuff that they probably don't even like acknowledge, and there's probably a lot of stuff I've not seen. But I'm just going to go through 82 now. Yeah, fuck T, make it off. It's more trouble than it's worth. Got obviously Creepshow 82. One of the, in my opinion, still the greatest sort of film of that genre. I mean, Creepshow 2, I love Body Bags as well from 93, I think it was. But Creepshow and Creepshow 2, and I still think they do better than anything else. Tales of the Crypt. Is it Tales of the Crypt? Tales from the Crypt? And was it Tales from the Dark Side? I forget. I still think Creepshow is like, it sets the standard. The Leslie Nielsen scene from Creepshow 1 is just, it's so dark, it's so good. 82, well, we've got 82, we've got obviously Friday 13th Part 3. Enough said. In my opinion, the third, I think a lot of people's third favourite Friday the 13th film of all time. I think a lot of people would say 4, then 6, then 3. I think it's in most people's top 4 films of the Friday franchise. I think Richard Brooker is probably most people's one of the top 3 Jasons. It's just one of those films. I never hear anybody really say anything bad about that film. It's always like there near the top. It's always got a lot of love. Sean says 82 The Carpenters. I think yeah. Don't worry, mate. I've not forgotten about that. Yeah, I mean, let's just talk about The Thing. The Thing. Some people say it's sci-fi. Some people say it's horror, sci-fi horror. I've always seen The Thing as sci-fi horror, rather than see. I've always seen The Thing as sci-fi horror, and Alien from '79 as just pure sci-fi. And the reason why I say that is because The Thing is set on Earth, whereas Alien is set in outer space. So although they're both obviously got like major horror elements to them, I've always seen Alien as a sci-fi film more and less of a horror film, and I've always seen The Thing as more of a merger of the two genres, because obviously it's set on Earth. I love The Thing. The Thing, all male cast. You couldn't make The Thing today. The Thing in 2021 be problematic. All male cast, you can't have that these days. Oh yeah, and The Thing, Carpenter, in my opinion, Carpenter's second greatest film after Halloween. I mean, I love The Thing so much. It's just such a good film. There's just 82's endless. Madman, The Poor Man's The Burning. Still love it. You know, I love them. I love Madman. It's the Cropsey tale told again. Not done as well as The Burning, but still, it's not a great film by any stretch of the imagination. But it's a film set on. It's set in the it's made in the early '80s. It's set on a campsite. It's a camp slasher. How can I not like that film? I just adore camp slashers from the early '80s. Poltergeist, arguably, well, one of the best Poltergeist movies ever made. It's called Poltergeist. Poltergeist is an amazing film, directed by Steven Spielberg, not by. It's a Steven Spielberg film. I don't care what anyone says. Steven Spielberg directed this film, in my opinion. Sean says Mad Max for a word. Yeah. It's not horror though, Sean. I can't start throwing in non-horror films. I won't go to bed tonight. I'll be all fucking night. The things in the careful comments. Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't rule it out. Dan. Whether it's scary or not, I just think it's a great film. It's like comfort food to me, Poltergeist. It's the sort of film I can put on before I go to bed and just watch, and it makes me feel like it just gives me like a warm feeling inside, which maybe is not right for a horror film, but it's what it does. All night stream, let's go. Yeah, I'm actually off work tomorrow, so I'm being pretty casual tonight. This could be like a very long stream. I've been about on 1982, and I've done 42 minutes already. If I was in work tomorrow, I'd be nearly done. The Slayer from 1982. I remember this film. I remember this. This is one of those video nasties from the UK. Obviously, being in the UK, you know. So this is a film that I saw probably about early 90s. I remember it being like, oh, it's a video nasty. This is going to be like extremely gory and really, really disturbing. It wasn't. It was pretty tame, sort of standard sort of slasher film. But you know, it wasn't bad. It also wasn't bad. Tenebrae, which is arguably Argento's greatest film. I like this a lot more than Inferno. Inferno just wasn't for me. This is on par with Suspiria for me. I love Tenebrae. Visiting Hours 82, yeah. Michael Ironside playing his most, you know, he just hams it up in this film, you know, trying to get revenge against someone who'd done him wrong, and it's a film that, like, I'm surprised they haven't remade Visitors in Hours, because it's kind of got that feminist vibe, big feminist feel to it. And it's a film that they could do now. It's it's quite relevant. That's the right word. Relevant to sort of today's society, and that's sort of film that they could go for. I'm doing alphabetical order, so right at the bottom, Extra, which is atrocious, which it's kind of developed like a bit of a cult following. Extra is just, I didn't like that film whatsoever. So let's move on to 1983. I think I know what is going to be my picks from this one. I think I accidentally put 1883 there, which is not going to bring up much results. Let's see what Wikipedia brings up this time. Quite a few films I've not seen. I've not seen Amityville 3D. Amityville 3D is, I checked out after Amityville 2. I've only seen 1, 2, and the remake with Ryan Reynolds. I know Amityville Horror's got like a slew of like remakes and sequels and reboots. It's just overwhelming. Obviously, 83, we got Christine. Not a massive fan of Christine. It's just, I find, is it John Stockwell or Keith Gordon? Is it Keith Gordon who plays the main character? He's like the geek. He's just I find him really, really annoying, and it's just not my thing. I mean, in terms of like Carpenter adaptations, like Stephen King adaptations by Carpenter or by anyone, it's down on my list. And mentioned Christine, Cujo is a better film than Christine in my opinion. But even then, even Cujo is not. I'm not a massive fan of Cujo. I think Cujo is like slightly overrated. I think the source material maybe elevates Cujo above what it is. But and oh my god, we got Curtains as well. Curtains, the slasher film from 1983. Yeah, Curtains is not. Yeah, I didn't like Curtains. I thought that was highly overrated. And this is a film I've seen in the last few years. This is a film I've seen like relatively. I was new to Curtains. I didn't know anything about this film, so that probably doesn't help matters because I didn't grow up knowing about this film. But it's got a really good kill on the ice with like, and she's got like with it. She's got the mask is quite creepy, but yeah, not a good, very boring film in my opinion. It's the Final Terror. Oh my god, the Final Terror. Oh fuck me, this film bored me to death when I saw this film. A horrible film. Maybe it's got a cult following. I don't know why. It's terrible. Obviously we've got. I mean, a film that never has ever received like any sort of Blu-ray release is The Keep. Because Michael Mann hates this film. The Keep is a great film. Michael Mann hates this film, so for that reason, he just doesn't want this to get any sort of decent release for some reason. But The Keep is a really, really good film. Oh, Griffin's in the chat. Cujo better than Christine. Mike, have you gone mental? Or? Oh, it's just my opinion, Griff. Go easy on me. I forgot we got. I see you noticed like the quantity of like horror films drop slightly as you go towards the mid 80s. 81 was just like insane. 83 still like well represented, but 81 is like the peak. The Keep had many problems. Yeah, it did. It did. Yeah, I still loved it. I still think it's a great film. Sleepaway Camp, the original, obviously, legendary film for all the sort of right reasons or wrong reasons, however you look at it. Yeah, that ending, that was always going to get like a sort of a big reaction. It's always going to be remembered for that. I sometimes think with Sleepaway Camp, the ending of the film overshadows. The film's a solid film, but I think the ending overshadows the rest of the film. And I actually like Sleepaway Camp 2 more than 1. I just think I think it's a more fun film. But I understand that 1 is the most is far more infamous because of that ending. What else we got? We got the Twilight Zone movie, which that freaked me out that film freaked me out as a kid. You know, the girl with like no mouth. Oh, that was fucking freaky. And finally, Videodrome, which is just a stone cold classic. Cronenberg at his best. Probably not what I'd class as a horror film. Wikipedia obviously do, but yeah, Videodrome is that's just a stone cold classic movie. I love that film. One of Cronenberg's best films. You know, what can you say? I mean, you know, I actually went to like go and rank 1983 then, and I forgot I'm not even doing that now because I've just got rid of the tier ranking website. But anyway, if I was going to rank 83, it would probably be A, not S tier. S tier would be top, which is 81. 83 would be A tier. Now on to 1984. This is going to be a good year. Yeah, Videodrome is amazing. It is. I love James Woods. James Woods, not woke. Love it. Love James Woods. Calls out all the little snowflakes on Twitter. Good man. Well, again, Sleepaway Camp wouldn't be the class is. Yeah, I agree. It lives. I would say it doesn't live or die on that ending, but that ending is what a lot of people remember it for. And I just like 2 more. I think 2's a more fun film. I remember like going off topic slightly, but well, not really off topic, but being a kid, like sort of like back in about 89. I think Sleepaway Camp 2 came out in 88, if I'm not wrong. So about 89, 90, being a kid, about 14, 13, going to the video shop and seeing Sleepaway Camp 2. And the video cover, it's got Angela with like, she's got like I think she had like some sort of rucksack or backpack, and it's got Jason's mask and Freddy's glove in it. And my mates, friends had convinced me that this film had Jason and Freddy in the film. They were killers in the film, and it was set on a summer camp. And I believed them. So I went into this film just like thinking, oh my god, this is going to be the most amazing film. This is before the internet. This is like you know, innocent 13-year-old kid who hasn't got a fucking clue about anything, waiting to see Freddy and Jason, and it never happened, but still seeing a really, really enjoyable slasher film. But yeah, just the things you fall for when you're a kid, man. It's just fucking crazy. So 84, yes. We've got Children of the Corn. I love Children of the Corn. Love the original film. Sarah Hamilton. Sarah Hamilton. I called her Sarah Hamilton. Linda Hamilton. I'm getting Linda and Sarah Connor mixed up. But yeah, Linda Hamilton. I thought she was like gorgeous in this film. I don't know what happened in the year after between this and Terminator, or the same year, because she seems. I never really fancied her in the Terminator, but in this film, I thought she was like gorgeous. And I love Children of the Corn. I think Children of the Corn is an amazing film. I like the sequel, but I like 2. Again, it's like after 2, it just takes a massive downturn, and it just went on way too long. But Isaac is just the freakiest little kid. He's such a weird little kid in that film, and Malachi is like really menacing in that as well. It's just it's just it just encapsulates small town America as well for me. You know, you could go into a small town and just be you could get fucked up by someone, and nobody's going to come and rescue you. You know, um, the Terminator was not being seen as a horror film. For me, it's a sci-fi action film. But you know, Terminator is one of the greatest films of all time. Video Drum is on both, yeah. Video Drum, yeah. Oh, Dead. I didn't even mention the Dead Zone. Because it's not even mentioned on Wikipedia. I think maybe it's considered more of a sci-fi thriller than a horror film. But I love the Dead Zone. Yeah, Martin Sheen, Christopher Walken, just so good in that film. Firestarter, 84. Yeah, another not Spielberg, Stephen King. This was the era of like just taking anything that Stephen King did and just turn it into like a mini series or a short film or a film. You know, he was just popping at the time. He was just such a. I mean, he's never really. You know, he's kind of. It's come full circle. He was mid-80s. Anything King did was just getting churned out, and it went quiet for a bit, and it's come full circle now. So in the 2010s, anything he does is just getting churned out over and over again. And you know, more King is better than no Stephen King. You know, there's been a lot of shit, but I'd rather have more than nothing because anything half decent is still good for me. Obviously, Friday the 13th, the final chapter, the greatest Friday the 13th film of all time. Anyone, if you disagree and you don't say anything other than 6, then I don't know where you're coming from, because 4 and 6 for me are the best Friday the 13th films. You can't top 4 for me. 4 for me is just, it's like the perfect Friday the 13th film. You've got the perfect antagonist in Corey Feldman. He's just at that age where he starts to become big. He's never looked better, Jason. I think it's the last iteration of human Jason, and he's just. I think he just nailed that look. So I think he's just got it nailed on. I think that he's the perfect iteration of human Jason, and I think like part 7 Jason is like probably they just got part 7 Jason as the zombie Jason just right with Kane Hodder, but and CJ Graham in part 6. Even though I love part 6 more than part 7, I like the more like sort of decrepit Jason. You know, where he's just starting to rot. He's really really fucked up. But but in terms of Friday film, part 4, man, part 4 is just the shit. You just can't top it. Got The Hills of Eyes Part 2. Oh god, this film was a fucking disaster. Most of the film is just flashbacks to part 1. Scenes of people on the BMXs. I didn't understand this film. This film was just completely bizarre to me. A film, you know what? A film I've never seen, which has just popped up, is The Initiation. I think it bears some resemblance to the Final Destination films. I think it may have something to do with cheating death. I could be wrong. Dan will probably know this because I'm sure Dan's seen the film. But it's a film I've always wanted to see and I've never got round to watching. Just see what the chat is saying. Firestarter would have been better junk of the day, but he got fired. The thing bomb. Oh, I didn't know that. I never liked Sean Connery. I think they ever got that many. But the third film was a fun B movie. I'll take this. Sean Daniel. The Initiation is a slasher film. Oh right, I didn't realise that. Maybe I'm getting it mixed up with something else. I thought The Initiation. There is a film from that around that time period that is got a Final Destination vibe to it. I must be getting mixed up with something else. Nightmare on Elm Street, 84. What more needs to be said? Never the biggest Elm Street fan. I do like Elm Street 1. For me, it's the best Elm Street film. I think. Yeah, it is. I think it is the best Elm Street film. I think it's it's not controversial to say that. I think with Elm Street, it's either 1, 2, or 3. Most people say 1, or they say 3, and then a lesser extent 2. For me, 1 is the best. But I still wouldn't put the first Elm Street, if it was a combination of like Elm Street, Halloween, and the Friday films. I don't think Elm Street would make it into my top like 6 or 7 films. It's just not. It doesn't resonate with me. The idea of a killer in the dreams rather than a real world killer, it doesn't resonate with me the way the other 2 franchises do. But I still do love. I still do love that film. I'm a sucker for like. I love that any film, any American film, it's set in that perfect, picture perfect sort of town. Where everyone's just like lives like in mansions, and it's like the American dream. Because like it reminds me of those, like I've been watching, like as we come to Christmas, a lot of those Hallmark American Christmas films are on, where it's like it paints this picture of America as being like this just picture perfect world of just like everyone lives in these like perfect picture perfect towns, and everyone gets on with each other. And obviously it's not like that really. I mean, I'm not stupid. I know America's got its problems, same way we have our problems in this country, but it's just it paints a picture of like just a lifestyle that I would love to live, and it's just unattainable. Certainly unattainable for where I live. Jesus Christ. 12-year-old girls getting stabbed to death in the street. Well, it's not happening where I live, but don't want to bring the real world into things, but yeah. 12-year-old girls getting murdered in the street in Liverpool. It's a pretty grim situation where I am at times. But yeah, don't want to put things on downer, but yeah, just Elm Street. Yeah, love the film, but as I say, not my upper tier of like favorite slasher films of all time. Razorback from '84 as well. Razorback. If anybody's not seen Razorback, which I'm sure you guys in the chat have seen, great Australian horror film about a giant, like I think it's a boar, like a giant boar. Something that Australians probably are used to. I don't know. It's some sort of giant fucking pig in the outback that kills people. I mean, obviously, it's not like a lion or a tiger. It's not something that is a realistic threat in the outback of Australia. But they just took that idea of like a giant pig, which was a killer, and goes on a killing spree. But yeah, love that film. Love Razorback. Such a good film. So obviously Silent Deadly Night, is it the greatest Christmas horror film of all time? Maybe. I think Christmas Evil on an artistic level is above it, but it's a fun film. I mean, I do think that we've kind of maybe taken the Silent Night, Deadly Night films, the first 2, and maybe put them on a pedestal, maybe slightly higher than what they deserve to be on. But I'm not going to argue it. They're fun films. So let's move on to. There are a few other films to mention, but I can't spend all night talking about like Splatter University, which was mentioned there. But let's go to 1985. Let's see what that brings up. Obviously, we know that it's going to bring up Friday the 13th Part 5. Yeah, 85 probably wasn't the greatest year for like horror films, slasher films. Let's just see what the chat's saying. Brings back Busy Son. Yeah, it is. But I've never seen Bordan. I don't even know what, but I've never even heard of that film. Is that an Australian film? Because I would definitely want to check that out. Griffin says there are so many books about playing not entitled to Survivor. Dan, you're right. It is Soul Survivor. Sorry, I completely missed that. Yeah, it's Soul Survivor. Yeah. So is that film from eight? Is that film from 81 or 80, is that eight? What year is Soul Survivor then? Is that 81 or 84? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it is Soul Survivor. It's Soul. I've not seen Initiation, but I've also not seen Soul Survivor. They're two films I really want to see. Um, and Chris, Eric Freeman's a legend. He makes that film. He. Although it's a sequel, a lot of people remember the sequel more because I do like the first film, but Eric Freeman is just like way more charismatic in two than the guy in one, whose name escapes me. So moving on to 1985, we've obviously got Demons, which is like a classic. It's one of those films that I saw as a kid, and I think it was just one of those films that just like took me by surprise because it was not. It was just so different to what I'd seen because it had like that sort of because it's an Italian film, but you didn't know it was Italian because when you watch the film, it's dubbed. As a kid, you're too stupid to know that it's dubbed. You're like, it just feels slightly off, but you're not quite aware that it's off. You're just kind of like thinking, oh, okay, this is a bit different. Well, you're not even aware that it's an Italian film. And you're like, this is a bit more gory than the average American film, but love Demons. Obviously, Friday the 13th, New Beginning, Part 5, a film that Piz loves, Lorne hates. I like Part 5. It's sleazy. It's the kills. It's got like insane number of kills in this film. I mean, it's just there must be like a kill every 5 minutes in this film. Obviously, there's no Jason spoiler alert, but I thought it was a brave move, like to sort of do this because what was the reason for again, I'm gonna reach out to the chat. I'll reach out to Dan probably, especially because Dan's like just probably know, but Part 4 was 84, Part 5 was 85. Now, Part 4, they called it, the final chapter. So they clearly intended, and I've read Crystal Lake Memories up to a point. Now, I think their intention was to end the franchise, but I can't quite remember. I don't think I've read as far as like the Part 5, Part 6. So why did they decide to? Yeah, yeah, you're probably right there, Lord. Griff. So in terms of like Part 5, it was released 12 months after 4. So why did they make Part 5 and not have Jason? If they were looking to make money, I'm trying to phrase it the right way. After Part 4, they thought it's done. The series is done. We're just going to end it. 12 months later, they bring out Part 5. So a company is in the business of making money. So why did they decide to make a film where they didn't have their main antagonist in the film, as in Jason Voorhees? I don't really understand why they would make that. Where was the business decision? We're gonna bring the franchise back, but we're not gonna have Jason in the franchise. It just seems like a really odd choice. I mean, if this film had been released like 5-6 years later, I think, well, yeah, they're going to go a different route. But 12 months later, when Jason's still fresh in everyone's memories, to drop this film and like, yeah, we're not having Jason. We're just going to have this random guy, and it's going to be perfectly obvious from the very beginning of the film who this guy is. It just seemed like a very, very strange move by the filmmakers and by the company, but by Paramount. That's the thing. It was Paramount who funded the film, so it's not like they changed film studios. They probably didn't think they would get any back funds. Well, I mean, let's like 12 months later, Jason was back, so I'm assuming. I liked the film, but I wasn't around at the time. you know, I was like 9 years old, so I don't remember, but I'm assuming obviously there probably was some backlash that they felt the need to bring Jason back. Anyway, going back to got 85, got Fright Night. Overrated in my opinion. I don't like Fright Night. I know it's sacrilege in our circles, but I don't like Fright Night. I think the film's overrated. I don't like the characters. I've never liked that film. I know, my bad. Got Life Force from 80, so Life Force is 85. Bit of a cult, yeah, a Toby Hooper film, but it's like kind of developed like a really cult sort of following. Never really got Life Force, to be honest with you. I just never really my thing. I kind of appreciate what they were going for, what Toby was going for, but to me, it was lost on me, that film. I never really liked it. The Mutilator, which it's classed as 85, but I think I'm right in thinking that it was made maybe a year or two before, maybe 83. But yeah, I love the Mutilator. The Mutilator's it's such a it's almost like it's a bit of a strange film that it's like they don't really hide, the fact they don't really hide who the killer is. It's like for that time period, a lot of time it was like it was like sleight of hand, and they would produce someone who you'd think who'd be the killer, and then it wasn't. And with the Mutilator, they didn't do that, which is like quite unusual. But yeah, I love the Mutilator. I think it's a great film. See, what next up? Christians. I think Christians Hannah Hodder's favorite film of all time, Return of the Living Dead. I think I'm right in saying that. Yeah, I like Return of the Living Dead. I'm not the biggest fan of the film. I think it's got issues. I don't know. I like it, but I'm sometimes slightly bewildered by the love it gets. For me, it's a solid 3 out of 5 film. Maybe I'm just not a big massive fan of zombies. I just don't know. It's just tough for me. Reanimator. Oh, Reanimator's an amazing film. Yeah, Reanimator. I did a video about Reanimator a long time ago on the channel. I say a long time ago. It was probably like February, but yeah, I think the Reanimator franchise is so good. I mean, 2's enjoyable. 3 shit, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I just think it's such. I'm amazed they haven't like turned this into some sort of remake, 7-film series. Or it. I'm glad they haven't, but so I mean, Jeffrey Combs and Bruce Abbott are just so good in this film. Silver Bullet from 85. Silver Bullet. Not a massive fan of the film in terms of the structure, the pacing, and the way it plays out. But I just love the setting of the film. Any film like if you make a film in the mid-80s, or you set something in the mid-80s, and you put it in a small town, like sort of Stranger Things style, I'll just watch that. I'll just lap that up. I love anything like that. I just love it. It could be just the biggest dog shit film of all time, but set it in the mid-80s, or if it's filmed in the mid-80s and it's in a small town. I just love that stuff. It's like why I love The Blob so much from '88. I mean, I loved it. I mean, regardless, that film's a good film anyway, but the setting of the film, and just when it was filmed, and the fact it was based on a '50s film as well, which is like my favorite time periods of all time. I mean, although I'm English, born in Britain, if I could pick any time period to live in, it would be small town America in the late '50s, or small town America in like the mid '80s. I just think that'd be fucking so amazing. love to live that life. And obviously, there's plenty of Americans who watch this. They probably pick flaws and say, well, you don't really know. It's just Hollywood romanticized and stuff. But at the end of the day, I love the look of like the mid '80s and the late '50s, like small town America. I just think it looks so fucking amazing. Far better than what I grew up in. But it's it is what it is. So on to 1986. And we've got one of the greatest Friday the 13th films of all time. Let's see what's Griffin's saying. I find it hilarious the film makes it Denver, Kentucky, yes, it's the ones in Louisiana. See, you'd pick up on that. That means nothing to me because I would never know. But it's good that you can pick up on that. That's the thing. It's a good thing about it's that could fool. It's like when you make a film in the UK and Americans wouldn't pick up on things that we pick up on, and obviously making a film in America, there's stuff like, unless you live in certain states, you probably wouldn't pick up on stuff that you've picked up on there. It's just so 1986 April Fool's Day. I always thought was 87. I must be wrong. April Fool's Day was 86. I didn't know that. April Fool's Day, yeah, the biggest long con of the 1980s. A 90-minute film where literally it was just. I mean, I think there is a director's cut where there is a twist, but the cinematic version. I mean, I could be wrong, but the cinematic version of April Fool's Day, yeah, it literally is just like the joke is on the audience, and that takes fucking balls to do that, man. To do that takes, I don't think they would have the balls to do that in 2021. But yeah, Chopper Mall. Oh my God, Chopper Mall. Jesus Christ, Chopper Mall. Holy crap, I love this film. Love Chopper Mall so much. I mean, it's just for me. It's like the perfect. This is the 80s just summed up in 90 minutes. It's big bests, blondes, sex, killer robots, cheesy guys who just are douchebags. I mean, it's got everything. I love this film so much. If Stranger Things 3 had just got rid of the entire cast and just set Stranger Things 3, because Stranger Things 3 spends a lot of time in the mall, get rid of the entire cast and just put killer robots in the mall with a bunch of like girls with big tits and douchebag jocks and just let them go at it. That would have been a much better Stranger Things 3 than what they dished up. Chopper Mall is just an amazing film. I love that film so much. And Critters, which is kind of like the slightly edgier Gremlins. Never really. It's got Dee Wallace in it, which but never the biggest fan of Critters. Yeah, it is what it is. It's like you kind of like give up Gremlins, then Critters, then Ghoulies was kind of like the next stage on from Critters, which it was slightly more edgy again. But yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of Critters. Yeah. Deadly Friend. Oh my God, Deadly Friend. I adore this film so much. This film takes me back to being a kid. Christy Swanson. Holy shit, man. Christy Swanson. I mean, I don't know how old she was in Deadly Friend. I was a kid, so it's not weird. I just had the biggest crush on Christy Swanson when I was like 15. I think I probably seen this film when I was like about 1990 maybe. So it was probably like about 5 years after the film came out, and I was just in love with Christy Swanson at that point, because I think she had like a brief role in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I just thought she's just like the perfect woman. But and just a great film. It's just again, it's just like very similar to Chopper Man, and kind of it's like technology's gone wrong where you created something and shit goes wrong, and that was kind of like it's a bit like because this was like 85, 86. You had Short Circuit as well, which was like obviously a PG film, but that was kind of the time when they were doing like this whole sort of like technology's gone a bit K-wire, and it's Terminator probably was the beginning of that as well, but it's like AI's becoming too clever, and it's it's a lot of foreshadowing there, but yeah, I mean I love Deadly Fin. I think that's an amazing film. The Fly, obviously 86. Never the biggest fan of The Fly. I know it's probably like sacrilege to say that, but I don't know. I've never really taken to Jeff Goldblum as an actor either. But I think it's one of those. I appreciate it for what it is, but I've never been the biggest fan of The Fly. And then obviously on to 86, Friday the 13th, Part 6. The second greatest Jason film of all time, if not the best. I just love this film so much. It's just a film that I grew up with. This film is just, it's like me in 1989 staying over at a friend's house and just watching horror movies, and this was always a staple. Go around there, get the Commodore 64 out, play Double Dragon, play Rainbow Islands, play a few other beat 'em ups, and maybe I don't think we had the Nintendo, so it was never Super Mario Brothers, but yeah, it was just like, and then it was just like get out the VHS and just put on. It was Friday Part 6, it was Sleepaway Camp, 89, 90, golden time. I have to just I hate it. Oh well, okay, Griffin, you're wrong. Okay, you're wrong. But we'll let that slide. But you are wrong now. I've heard Lorne loves that film. I have no idea whether Lorne likes it. Yeah, The Hitcher. Oh my God, Hitcher. Hang on, we're in 85, 86. Oh, 86, yeah. Hitcher. Oh my God, this film is so good. Rutger Hauer is just amazing in this film. C. Thomas Howell in his best ever role, which isn't saying much because he didn't do fuck all else. Really, he should be thankful that he got this role, because he does a decent job, but he's never really sort of like lived up to the expectations of this film. Rutger Hauer is just amazing in this film. Obviously, a young Jennifer Jason Leigh as well. Oh, so good. If there's one look, talking about American films, I love small town America, like that Stranger Things feel, Silver Bullet feel, and another aesthetic, is that the right word to use, about American films I love about American cinema is the open road. Films like The Hitcher, it's like, and maybe films like with the Kurt Russell film Breakdown, just films where it's just set in the middle of nowhere and it's like a road movie. I just love that as well. The Hitch is so good. It's so good, man. It's just criminally. I mean, I wouldn't even say it's underrated, because I think it's everybody who sees the film loves the film, but it's just gained that cult status because it never really sort of did it at the time. I don't really think it was ever really. I think it just came and went, and it just that's for me. That's the definition of a cult film. A cult film for me, or a cult album, or a cult TV show. Excuse me. The definition of a cult for me is it's a film or a TV show or an album. It's like that. It gets widespread praise off critics, but doesn't like transition into like the mainstream. So, or something that gets completely ignored on release, and then years down the line starts to gain a following but like a really hardcore following from fans. So for me, that's I mean, I think that's what The Hitcher is. It's like that. It's very definition of like a cult following, because it's definitely gained that sort of like really hardcore. I mean, people with films like The Hitcher, people don't like really have. To my experience, people don't really have like a negative or very negative. No, so they have like negative or positive. It's like no, people don't with The Hitch. People don't think it's okay. People love it, or they just think it's shit. I I think if I was going to make a film, I'd much rather have that sort of like, you know, strong reaction. It's a bit like Blade Runner. People think Blade Runner, they either hate it or they love it. They think it's the biggest piece of shit ever, or they think it's the greatest film of all time. And if I was to be a filmmaker, I'd much rather have that reaction where you just garner this like sort of utter hatred or utter complete love. It's much better to be like that than just be ignored by everybody. But yeah, I love The Hitcher. Um, a film that I've not seen, which everybody been posting on social media, Piers, Christian, they've all picked up Killer Party. I've not seen the film. It's something that really is, it's on my radar. I really want to see that film, but I've never seen it. And I remember the film when I was a kid, going into the VHS store, seeing it, but never got around to watching it. Um, but yeah, a lot of people have been posting on social media about picking up the Blu-ray or the 4K. So if anybody's seen that film, you let me know, because is it good or is it just cheesy shit? Right, we've got a couple of belters now. We've got obviously Maximo Drive. I love that film. Won't go into any more. Everyone knows Maximo Drive. Great film. That's a Killer Party. It's fun. It's a bit overrated. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, looking at the reviews I've seen. I mean, I think it's one of those. It's like it looks like the sort of like cheesy sort of mid-80s film that like maybe gets the Blu-ray treatment, but isn't like upper tier. But I mean, moving, talking about we're talking about a similar time period now, because I think Killer Party is, well, obviously Killer Party is 86, but a couple of films now, which one film I love and I never knew anything about until a couple of years ago, and a film I've known about for 20 years, which I've watched, a couple of times over the past 20 years, and I think it's slightly overrated. So, first of all, Neo Maniacs. I love Neo Maniacs. Piers got me onto Neo Maniacs. He did a review of it, and I'd never heard anything about this film. So checked it out. Loved the film. Loved the whole. I loved that San Francisco setting of the 80s. Love that. Yeah. Um, the I think her name, what's her name? Leilani Sorrell, who's in Basic Instinct. That girl is just fucking stunning, man. Oh my god. Without getting too pervy, the scene where she's like sunbathing in the bikini. Oh my god, that is just yeah, amazing. Just a great, but not just apart from that, you got a stunning final girl, or main girl. It's a likable cast, and it's that 80s, mid 80s likable characters. Not everybody's a bitch. Not everybody's a jock douchebag. There's just likable characters. It's a nice novelty now, because nowadays, especially with social media and smartphones, characters in films tend to be like horrible human beings. Especially if you watch, I Know What You Did Last Summer, the TV show. I just got 7 episodes in. I just gave up, because these people were just despicable human beings. I just thought, fuck this, I'm done. But yeah, like Neo Maniacs, just great cast, likable characters, just a really fun film. And so to take you on to Night of the Creeps. Night of the Creeps, I should love this film. Small town setting, 1980s. Jill, I mean, is it Jill Whitlow? Jill Whitlow is just, Jill Whitlow is probably the most stunning woman I've ever laid eyes on in any film. Just unbelievable. I mean, just perfect looking woman. But I just find the pacing of I find the pacing of Night of the Creeps a little bit slow. I find like the two main guys now a little bit annoying. And I don't know, I just feel like really bad for not liking this film as much as I should, but I don't like this film that much. I don't know why. It should tick all the boxes, but it just doesn't. I don't know why. But yeah, for me, I'd take Neo Maniacs over Night of the Creeps any day of the week. But I tried to get a casting show something years ago. It's just such a fun film. And again, I say it's a film I never even knew existed. I'm constantly surprised by films that pop up that I've never heard of before, and I always think, oh well, yeah, I know everything now from the 80s, especially like in terms of like American films or like British films, and something will just pop up or someone will review something. I'm like, where did that come from? Like, how did I not know about this film? 86, we've got Spookies, which yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Spookies. I know it's got its fans. I'm just not a big, massive fan. I am skipping some films because not too many, but I'm skipping a few films because there's just too much. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, I actually prefer 3. Is it wrong to prefer 3 to 2? I actually think 3 is a better film. I know the general consensus is with the original 3 films is it's 1, 2, 3. I actually go 1, 3, 2. I just think 3 is a more fun film. I think 2 is just too. It's just too full on. With the characters is just so in your face. They're so annoying. Yeah, they're meant to be annoying. I know, but it's just I don't know. I just prefer. I think 3 is a better film. Yeah, Andy, I agree. Tom Atkins is Tom Atkins. He's amazing in everything. But I just think that I would have like preferred more Atkins and less of the two main male leads. Just can we just have a film with Tom Atkins and Jill Whitlow in that film and nothing else? Maybe Tom Atkins gets to, bang Jill Whitlow. I mean, it's not beyond the realms of reason. I mean, he was probably only like 40 years older than her, which is probably within his ballpark. Chainsaw Massacre 2. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Chainsaw Massacre 2. I know it's popular. I know it's a big fans of the franchise love it. For me, I prefer 3. It's going to 1987. I think we'll go to. See, I just think it's going to drop off big time now because I'm trying to think of films from '87. Like I'm saying, I'm just googling it and I'm just thinking like, who in '87 was there? In terms of as we get towards '87, '88, it's just you just see a massive drop off in the level of horror films that were getting released. So we've got Angel Heart, which is it's not really. I mean, for me, that's not a horror film. It's more of a. I look upon Angel Heart as something along the lines of The Surface and the Rainbow. It's more like that sort of thing. I don't know. Look, when you start to scroll down, you notice there's a lot less stuff. Obviously, we've got Blood Rage from '87, Thanksgiving in America yesterday, I think. So obviously, Evil Dead 2 is '87. Oh, what's up, Ben? What's up, man? Good to see you on board. How about we'll get to that. We'll get to that. It's Blood Rage. Is it the only Thanksgiving horror film? I don't know. I don't even know what Thanksgiving is really. I mean, you guys in America, I know you eat turkey, but to a Brit, we're just like completely lost as to what Thanksgiving really even involves. But yeah, Blood Rage. I think Blood Rage is overrated. I don't think it's a particularly good film. Maybe because it's a Thanksgiving film, maybe it gets a bit more. It gets a pass because it's one of the only Thanksgiving films. But I just never really took to that film. Creepshow 2, obviously, Creepshow 2 is a classic. Is it better than the first one? I don't. You could make a case. I like Creepshow 2. I don't think there's anything that tops, as I say earlier on. I don't think there's anything that tops, Leslie Nielsen's, with the beach drowning in with Leslie Nielsen and Creepshow 1. I think that is just like, you can't top that. That one is just better than anything they've ever been in any Creepshow film or TV show. But I do love Creepshow 2. I think it is. It of all the sort of franchise, sort of short story franchise, Tales of the Crypt and Body Bag. There's been numerous ones, but I still think Creepshow 1 and 2 are still like the level. They set the bar, and I don't think they've ever really been surpassed by any of these sort of like short story monologues they've done. Evil Dead 2. Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest Evil Dead fan. I think Evil Dead 1 is highly overrated. I think Evil Dead 2 is a better film, but it is more like a remake than a sequel anyway. Yeah, I'm just not the biggest. I wasn't a big fan of the Medieval Dead either. Evil Dead 3. For me, it's just not my thing. And I go, it's 8 of The Gate. Stephen Dorff loved The Gate. I think The Gate is. 87 is like that kind of like you're getting into that period. Like, you've got The Gate. I think you got the Cellar. You had all these kind of like movies where it's like, some sort of like like other dimension leading to something. It was just, yeah, The Raft. Oh yeah, The Raft. Oh, yeah, I love The Raft. The Raft is a great. That's definitely number one in the film. Yeah. Yeah, hell, obviously, I mean, what needs to be said about Hellraiser? Um, I'm actually, is Hellraiser 2 a better film? Maybe. I mean, Hellraiser is one of those franchises which went downhill so badly after 3, a bit like Child's Play, in my opinion. I love Hellraiser. I love the first Hellraiser. I like Hellraiser 2. I like Hellraiser 3 to a point. And when the 90s hit, yeah, it just went to shit. And the noughties. Hellraiser is just a franchise that's just been destroyed by just cheap remakes, cheap sequels, and yeah, Clive Barker's probably, if he was dead, he'd be turning in his grave, but he's probably, probably doesn't care. He's probably living a very nice LA lifestyle now. I'm like Jaws: Revenge. I think it's all of that. Lost Boys '87. Is Lost Boys a horror film? I don't really regard Lost Boys as a horror film. I don't know what you would call Lost Boys. It's so. I love the Lost Boys, but it's so inoffensive that I can't even see it as a horror film. Even though I love it, it's just so inoffensive to me. I just can't see it as a horror film. But I do love. I mean, I love. I love the Lost Boys. I love the setting of it. Seaside town on the coast. Love it. But as a horror film, Monster Squad, overrated as fuck. Hate the Monster Squad. Hate that film. It's a horror comedy, but just that film's fucking, for me, is just complete bullshit. I don't like the film. I've never liked it, and I think it's completely overrated. And I know that's going to piss people off, but I think that Monster Squad is just fucking dog shit film, and I don't understand the love that it gets. I just completely, I find it bewildering. How is the only film to about angels who I can't stand it. Yeah, you're not wrong, Dave. I mean, I like 3. I do like 3, but anything after 3, I mean, I've not seen some of the later films because the horror stories of like people who've seen those films are just like, no, I can't watch them. Say Nightmare on Elm Street. Well, we got 87 to give us Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors, which, for most people, Dream Warriors is like either the best Elm Street film or the second best Elm Street film, or maybe the third. I like Dream Warriors. For me, it's I would put it third. I actually like Freddy's Revenge better than 3. I just like the complete bizarre fucking world of Freddy's Revenge, because Freddy's Revenge, because he actually does enter the real world. I was never a big fan of like Freddy just existing in dreams. So with part 2, the way he just enters the real world and starts killing people, I love that. Even though I still think it's a weaker film than part 1. For that reason, I put it ahead of part 3. And I do like part 3. It was just on the cusp of Freddy beginning to get a little bit silly, and by part 4, he was just like full on comedy. But yeah, I do like part 3. But for me, it's just not to the level of the first 2 films. As I say, there are a few films here which I could mention, but it's just, yeah, it's just times getting on, and I don't really want to spend time talking about Slumber Party Massacre 2. Probably not. So let's get on to 1988, and we are really scraping the barrel now, because 1988 you'll see a major drop off. I'm just going to be honest. Got to be honest, Griff. It is what it is. Never liked the film. It is what it is. So 88, we got the Blob. Love the Blob. Blob is just better than the remake. Although if I'd grown up in the 50s, I'd probably say the Steve McQueen version is better. But just as a 12, 13-year-old kid watching the Blob, oh my god! And it also has Erica Eleniak in it, getting killed in one of the very first scenes. I think this is before Baywatch, and she's like one of my dream women. Erica Eleniak was just like growing up. Oh my god, I fucking adored that woman. This is more like what me fantasizing about, like women growing up rather than a take on horror films. But yeah, the Blob. Yeah, loved the Blob. Amazing film. So one of the not the best remake of all time, but it's fucking up there. You know what I mean? It's up there. Dead Heat, Treat Williams, horror sci-fi. More love Dead Heat. So fun, such a fun film. This is when we getting towards the late 80s. We're starting to get like a bit of a sci-fi horror crossover a little bit, because I think The Hidden. What year is The Hidden? Is that 87 with Carl McLachlan? Because that's you've got like that sci-fi horror crossover. The Hidden's a great film. Love The Hidden. Obviously, we've got Child's Play, the original Child's Play, before Jennifer Tilly. Andy's a kid. I mean, I've been watching the Chucky TV show, and like I mentioned on Piz's stream the other night, I was on board up till episode 4, episode 5, and as they've started to bring in the legacy characters, I'm a fan of the first 3 films, but anything after that, I'm not a fan of Jennifer Tilly. I'm not a fan of, see the Curse of Chucky, Cult of Chucky, all that shit just went too far for me. I like the first 3 films, the first 2 films in particular, and bringing back Andy's too much, because Andy can't act. Andy is just a bad actor. It's the same guy who was the kid in the first 2 films, and he can't act. So bringing him back, and then bringing back Jennifer Tilly, who's just nauseating. As I've said, I don't like her in the franchise. I would have preferred that they did their own thing, but I'm going off topic. Let's be talking about Child's Play. Child's Play is 88. It's just a great film. It's a really fun film, and 2's great as well. But this, once Chucky's lost the surprise element that you have in the first film, as good as 2 is, you've kind of lost the elements of surprise of like just this little tiny little doll running around like trying to kill people, which was kind of like a bit of a novelty at this point in 88. It'd been not seen. It hadn't been. I'm not going to say it's not been done before, but to a mainstream audience, to see like this little tiny little doll running around like a knife trying to stab people was kind of like a novelty, and it was entertaining. Obviously, by the time the sequels came around, a few films have jumped on the bandwagon a little bit, but yeah, Child's Play is just a fun film, man. It really is. What else we got on 88? How did Halloween 4, the return, the return? I literally said the return of Michael Myers, and I wasn't trying to quote the name of the film. I was literally just going to say Halloween 4, the return of Michael Myers, which is the name of the film. Yeah, love this film. What more needs to be said? I mean, it's an amazing film. Is it better than 2? That's the age-old question. One's the best, obviously. 2, 4. I mean, I actually think you could. There's more of a case to be made for 4 over 2, personally. But there were like 2 more because it's set directly after 1, maybe. I don't know. I just love 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then 5. I still like 5 because 5. We'll get to 5 in a minute. But for me, it's those 80s and obviously the 17th film. Once you get into the 90s with 6, that's when it loses me a little bit. But anything set in the 80s, Halloween wise, I'm just a sucker for that. Maniac Cop. Oh, Maniac Cop. Maniac Cop's kind of like, I like it. I do like Maniac Cop, but it's just for some reason it just never really it's never like a film that like resonated with me as much as like, I mean, I actually like prefer Psycho Cop to Maniac Cop, and even though Maniac Cop is a bigger budget film with like, you know, better acting and probably a better storyline, I always prefer Psycho Cop. Maniac Cop to me was just yeah, I like it, but Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, no. This is it's an 80s Freddy film, so I can't hate it too much, but this is when Freddy starts to go full comedy, and it's just, yeah. Rennie Harlan directed this film. Like, I mean, I'm not saying he's like a credible sort of director, but it is a bit of a strange one. Rennie Harlan directed this, and yeah, I think Robert Englund was just taking the paycheck at this point. Robert Englund was making big bucks from this franchise, and I don't think he cared anymore. I don't think anybody else cared about this franchise. I think it was New Line who were churning this out in the late 80s. I think they were just quite happy to just churn out any old crap and just take the money for it. Because the thing about the late 80s is, even though in 2021, Michael Myers is like the king of like the slasher franchise. You know, people recognize Michael Myers. Jason is was kind of like the king of the horror franchise, maybe in the noughties, going into the 2010s. I think Jason kind of like was still resonating with the remake, and obviously, you know, Jason X and Freddy vs. Jason. Freddy's not really sort of resonated with people since the early 90s. He's kind of just gone way off the boil. And I don't think it's going to come back. I think you know, Halloween is obviously doing big money now. A Friday remake would do massively well. I honestly don't think a Nightmare on Elm Street remake would do anything. I don't think people care anymore about Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy Krueger can't come. Robert Englund can't come back because he's too old. And he is Freddy Krueger. They tried it with 2010 and it didn't really work. And there's the benefits of just having a guy in a mask. You get a guy like James G. Courtney in to play Michael and be amazing at it, and he is amazing at it. People completely forget about the previous Michaels. You can't forget about the previous Freddys because it's so intertwined with Robert Englund as an actor. So yeah, basically. So yeah, I just don't think there's any future for the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Where was I? I was talking about like Bad Dreams. I've not seen Bad Dreams. It's actually popped up here actually, but I've not seen a film. Ben says Rock and Roll Nightmare is an 87 classic. I've never seen Rock and Roll. I'm going to make a note of these films because I've not seen Rock and Roll Nightmare either. So let's move on to 89, final year. This is probably going to be even less to talk about with 89 because let's be honest, what on earth was there in 89? It was a pretty bad year, wasn't it? So we've got 976 Evil, which I like to a point. I think directed by Robert Englund. He did a pretty good job, actually. You know, for someone who's just an actor in a horror film, in a horror franchise, and he just takes up at directing, I think he did a pretty good job. We've got The Cellar, which I seem to remember really liking. Chud 2, which I don't know. Have I seen Chud 2? I don't know. I love Chud 1, but I don't think have I ever seen Chud 2. Clown House with the wonderful Victor Salva directing a film where he literally abuses boys. That makes for an interesting experience watching that film. Cult and Class with Brad Pitt. Now, I've not seen this film. Now, I'm pretty sure that Brad Pitt doesn't play a major role in this film. But I've heard conflicting rumours saying that he plays a major role. I was under the impression that Brad Pitt does absolutely fuck all in this film, and they just used him on the cover because obviously it's Brad Pitt, and nobody else in the film is any remotely famous. But if Brad Pitt is like a major character in this film, I need to check that out because it's Brad Pitt for fuck's sake in a slasher film. Yeah, Pet Sematary, yeah, absolutely, Anthony. That's definitely on this list. Fly 2, which didn't like. Halloween 5, no more needs to be said about Halloween 5. It's Halloween 5. It's Halloween 5. It's not great, but it's an 80s Halloween film, so therefore I love it unconditionally. Intruder, yeah, love Intruder. Saw this film back in the day, completely unaware of what I was watching. I didn't know. I just thought that this is just like another random slasher film, and it's just such a good film. It's such a good time. It's just they really make use of like it's like setting it like overnight in like a supermarket, and then just making full use of like what they've got at hand. So people dying by meat cutters and stuff. It's such a well done film. I just love that film. It's cheesy, but it's such fun. Leviathan Deep. This was like I think this came out the same year as Deep Star 6 and The Abyss. It's like the whole sort of like sci-fi underwater alien sort of thing going on. I remember really liking it. I think main thing I remember is Peter Weller's in it. Obviously, this is like just after RoboCop. Amanda Pays, who was like an English, very posh English actress and bloody gorgeous in that film as well. Yeah, I always get that mixed up with Deep Star 6. I always forget which one's which. Obviously, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5. Yeah, this is where the point where Robert Englund's just gone full comedy mode. Yeah, this film's just fucking garbage, man. I mean, I can defend the worst of the Halloween franchise, and I can defend the worst of the Friday franchise. I can't defend Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5. It's just in the same way I can't defend Part 6. It's just the worst. Fucking hell, man. It's just awful. Shocker. Oh my god, Shocker. I love Shocker so much. Wes Craven's one of Wes Craven's best ever films, in my opinion. If this film had come out in 1984, this film would have been like a massive hit. Horace Pinker would have been like a horror icon for the 80s, I think. He's such a good bad guy in this film, and the film is maybe like 15 minutes too long, but it's so good. It's just criminally underrated, and not enough people talk about Shocker. It's just so more people need to just put the word out. This is just a great film. Society with Billy Warlock he was in Baywatch. Bit of a freaky sort of like, I can't remember much about the film, but I just remember the end sequence being just completely crazy, and that's all I can remember of the film. But I just remember it being a really good time, and that end sequence just being just insane. And that's pretty much it. I mean, there are other films, but like in terms of like things to talk about, you know, a lot of it's just like really low budget like shit, and there are some decent films there, but you know, it's, as I say, in '89 was just a bad year for horror. But I think I've covered most of the mainstream bases there. Obviously, I was going to go do deep dives on a lot of the Italian stuff, and it'd be like a 10-hour video, and I haven't got time for that. I just wanted to cover, like, you know, the mainstream stuff and a lot of, like, you know, maybe some of the slightly less mainstream stuff. But in terms of, you know, just my opinions on it, obviously it was, the whole tier ranking thing took a big shit early on, but it doesn't really matter. It's irrelevant, you know. It was, you know, it was just a fun video to do. Once, you know, cover a lot, because the '80s basically, you know, the '80s is the greatest decade in my opinion for like horror films, and I think most people will agree. I think most people would agree with that. You know, I think most people take their inspiration from the '80s in terms of it shaped people's, you know, formative years, and even if they weren't, even if you're not the age I am now, even if you were like, if you're like 25, 20, if you get into horror, I think when you go back, I think it's the '80s horror films which start to shape you and as a person. I think they're the films that are going to have the biggest impact on you, more maybe than like stuff in the 2010s. But maybe I'm speaking as an old man, you know. But anyway, that's enough of me rambling on. You know, I think I covered all the bases more or less. But for everyone who jumped on, Griffin, thanks, man. I'll be going live next Tuesday, definitely next Tuesday. So if you want to jump on from the off, I'll send you the link. If you want the link, just request the link. I'll send you the link, and we can just roll from the very beginning if you want to. That'll be next Tuesday, probably be about 7 p.m. Eastern. Ben Graham, thanks for jumping on, man. Who else? Obviously, Anthony, thanks, man. Always there, man. Appreciate it. Dan, legend, thanks, man. Sean, obviously, always Sean. DJ, you were there as well. And Christian as well, thanks, man. And Jess as well. So, yeah, everyone who jumped on, thanks a lot, guys. Yeah, that's it, mate. I need to go to bed. It's 2 o'clock. But thanks for watching. Appreciate it. And just do us a favour, you leave a like on the video. That makes a big impression. That means a lot. I will see you guys later. Bye.